877-3DP Show. We'll get to your phone calls coming up. Best and worst of the weekend, what you saw that you liked, you didn't like. Dylan is in for Seaton today. He'll handle the poll question duties. How about hour one poll question?
All right, Dan. Hour one poll. Who had the best weekend, excluding Josh Allen?
Okay.
Geno Smith, Myles Garrett, DK Metcalf, or Davante Adams?
Okay. Well, I would say Myles Garrett because of what he's getting paid, but he still has to get paid playing for the Cleveland Browns. Yes, Paulie.
Davante Adams, at this juncture of his career, goes to a competitive team, big market, and a drop-back timing quarterback. That's perfect for him.
Judy Battista, senior national columnist, co-host of The Insiders on NFL Network. Let me start there, Judy. Who had the best weekend?
I would say Davante Adams as well. He got, I think, more than many people thought he was going to get. He's with a team very much on the rise. I mean, they are way ahead of schedule. He gets to stay in California, where he's from. I think he had the best weekend because, as you put it perfectly, Myles Garrett just for the cash alone, but he's staying with a team that we now know he didn't want to be with just a few days ago.
Why didn't Cleveland get an offer that could at least have them budge off this stance of we're not going to trade Myles Garrett?
I don't think they ever even entertained the idea of trading Myles Garrett. Listen, so much has gone wrong for that team. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson deal was just a catastrophe. You can't trade your best player. I mean, he's not just their best player. This is a Hall of Fame caliber player. Yeah. He's arguably the best defensive player in the league every year. You just can't trade that guy. And if you're going to give your fans anything to hang on to, you can't trade that guy. So unless somebody came to them with, we'll give you 4 number ones, which I don't think anybody was doing, they just couldn't entertain anything. And if we take them at their word, and I think we can, because they were saying the same things to teams that they were saying to reporters, they were never trading him.
Is it irresponsible, though, of them that, yes, this guy is going, Cleveland to Canton, but maybe there's a stop in between with Detroit or Washington or whoever. Maybe somebody overpays to make you a bet. If I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, it's nice that I'm going to see him in uniform, but are we any better by having him in uniform instead of trying to get something else to kind of restart this franchise?
I saw a lot of that online yesterday when the deal happened. A lot of fans saying, shouldn't we have gotten the haul of draft picks? Draft picks are gambles, right? You don't know how they're going to pan out. You do know what this guy is going to do, right? He's going to sack the quarterback 15 times a season at least. He is going to give you a chance to win. I think part of what kept him in Cleveland, aside from the pile of money, is they sold him on the idea that they have a plan to be back, right? They were in the playoffs only a couple of years ago. We're not, the roster is not completely barren. This is what we're going to do at quarterback. And I think as those things come to light, maybe the decision will make a little bit more sense. I think he read the tea leaves and his representatives read the tea leaves that they were never going to trade him. I mean, Jimmy Haslam wouldn't even meet with him and basically said, go deal with Andrew Berry. Don't try to come appealing to me for a trade. Go talk to Andrew Berry. And I think they came to the conclusion, you're not getting traded unless you are willing to hold out and sacrifice, a year's worth of salary, because that's the only alternative. You need to come to grips with the fact that you're not getting traded. So make the best deal you can and try to figure out how you can be happy here.
What are the Seahawks doing?
That's a good question. It's hard to really question John Schneider because he's very, very good. But certainly this is a reset at the very least. Moving Geno Smith, I always got the impression that maybe John Schneider, he was always less committal about Geno Smith than maybe the coaches were. Mike McDonald was at the combine only, 2 weeks ago, saying we love Geno Smith. He's definitely our quarterback. But I always thought John Schneider was a little bit more reserved. I think it's a good move for Geno Smith. I think it's a fairly decent move for the Seahawks, presuming that they already know who their next quarterback is going to be. And it's hard for me to imagine that a GM as good as John Schneider would trade your starting quarterback without having a very, very strong idea of who the next guy is. So I assume that domino will fall as soon as the window opens today for negotiation.
Yeah, I rarely question what the front office does in Seattle. They're very buttoned up. They're very smart. Yes. If you're getting Sam Darnold, look, Geno is an older, a little above average quarterback. It gives you a little more stability with the Raiders competing in the AFC West. But the NFC West is winnable. You won 10 games. You went toe-to-toe with the Rams. The Niners are going to come back a little bit. But that's what was surprising is you let your receivers go, and it just felt like a tag sale. And I don't know, what that big grand plan is. Sam Darnold going to be the answer? Are they that sure that Sam Darnold is their guy?
Right. I think they also want a running game. I think they just want to retool, right? This is now a second-year head coach who is now going to, instead of working with what was in place, is going to start putting what he wants in place, right? The kind of system he wants. I generally agree with the idea that it's a much greater chance that you're going to get worse at quarterback. You already know what Geno Smith is. Are you very, very sure that Sam Darnold is going to repeat the kind of success with your program that he had in an almost perfect situation with the Vikings, right? Where he had just all world weapons, great coaching, right? He was protected well. So you got to be really sure that that's going to translate. We'll see. But again, I hesitate to question John Schneider because they usually make the right moves in Seattle.
Who's going to be the quarterback of the Giants?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. For a while, I thought all the pieces were lining up that it was going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm still very curious to see what Aaron Rodgers' market would be. The fact that, nothing has been completed with Aaron Rodgers makes you pause. And, as we know from Rodgers in the past, he's deliberate, right? He's going to think about his options and explore his options, and he's not going to be hasty. He certainly doesn't want to make a bad decision here. But if that falls through, what's the fallback plan for the Giants? I don't know. Would they be in on Sam Darnold? That's a different kind of thing. Russell Wilson, that's a different kind of thing. I mean, when the Aaron Rodgers thing started first bubbling up about the Giants, connected to the Giants, I think a lot of Giants fans, I live in New York, a lot of Giants fans were like, whoa, this is great. No way. Come on. But when you slow down and think about it, there are not a ton of great options, for that kind of job right now. The veteran guy who's just the bridge guy. We're not talking about a veteran guy like Sam Darnold that you're going to have for the next 10 years. We're talking about a bridge to the next guy that presumably they're going to try to draft this year. There's not that many of them. And Aaron Rodgers is the best of the bunch, right? I mean, you would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Russell Wilson at this point, or Jameis Winston, or Jimmy Garoppolo. Who else is out there? So we'll see. I am curious to see what the rest of the market would look like for Aaron Rodgers.
Judy Battista joining us on loan from NFL Network, co-host of The Insiders. What are the Steelers doing?
The Steelers are loading up. I think the way last season ended for the Steelers, where it was just clear they didn't have enough firepower, enough offensive firepower to stay with the top teams in the AFC, that the offense really sagged at the end. I think they are going to fix that. Don't forget, they spent all of last year trying to get a big-time wide receiver, right? They were in on Brandon Ayuk. They were in on Davante Adams. They got Mike Williams. That didn't, okay, whatever. So this was the long quest for a receiver finally coming to an end, and they get DK Metcalf. To me, the interesting thing is, are they keeping George Pickens too? Because then you have Pickens and DK Metcalf, which is pretty appealing for a quarterback, whoever the quarterback is. To me, it's amazing that they made the deal for the star wide receiver without having any quarterback under contract.
I know.
Sort of the reverse, but it's quite a good selling point if you have to sell yourself on a quarterback. I mean, for instance, if if I am a veteran quarterback with options and the Steelers are interested in me, that's a pretty, I mean, I know the weather is tough and it's an extremely difficult division, but those are some pretty good weapons you'd be throwing through.
We tend to talk about this, it feels like, on a yearly basis. There's certain teams that are proactive. They're going to extend their star players. They get ahead of the curve, the financial curve. Here we are with Dallas and Micah Parsons, and here we are with Jamar Chase. The Bengals could have signed Jamar Chase a while ago, it feels like, and Dallas could have done the same thing. I mean, you'd be saved. It's only going up. The longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you. So I'm just trying to understand the financial responsibility, sensibility with both of these programs, these franchises of they're great, pay them. Don't wait to pay them.
I don't know. I don't know why they wait. But I mean, this last weekend we've seen the stark, like what happens when you wait. They waited, and now both teams are going to have to pay many, many millions of dollars more, which is great for the players.
Well,
obviously, good for Micah Parsons, and good for Jamar Chase. They've earned it. Go get it. But if you're the team that's trying to move around the dollars, I mean, you have really put yourself in a terrible spot. The Bengals did it to them twice. First of all, they should have done Jamar Chase last year. They were close. I believe they got hung up on guaranteed money, which now you're like, ugh. I mean, the market jumped so significantly, right? The Max Crosby deal made him the highest paid non-quarterback, by a little bit. Now the Myles Garrett makes him by a lot. And the Bengals have said publicly they're going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback. So, I mean, they've got no wiggle room. And now that's going to be much more expensive. Same thing for Trey Hendrickson. If they have any thoughts of being able to keep him, well, the market for pass rushers just took that big leap too with Myles Garrett. So that's double trouble for them. And then, of course, the Micah Parsons thing, which is, again, why do these teams wait? I don't know, but they're going to pay much, much more than they would have if they had just been proactive and gotten it done early. You always, if you're the team, you want to be the first, right? If you're the player, you want to be the last because you want to top the market. From the team point of view, this was not good.
And I like what Buffalo did. They were proactive. Yes. This kind of came out of nowhere with Josh Allen getting a new deal, but it gives them flexibility.
Yes. Right. And you don't have to think about this. And the other thing about waiting is it creates tension with the player, right? Like, which you should not want to do if, again, the Bengals know they're keeping Jamar Chase, right? He is a superstar. He's your guy. He's Joe Burrow's guy. You can't let him out of the building. Why would you ever want to create tension with a player like that? So in the case of Buffalo, I mean, obviously Josh Allen is a stud, right? The MVP, where would that franchise be without him? Yeah, they were proactive. Let's make him happy. Keep him happy. Like anything to make him happy.
Yeah, it's like the Bengals are paying their taxes late. The Cowboys pay their taxes late. They're not. And once again, they have to be pretty smart to get in a position to be able to be an owner of a team. But there are times when with Jerry Jones, he did this with Dak, overpaid for Dak. CD Lamb. Now, you can look at CD Lamb and say, all right, they got a better deal with the wide receiving market. But Micah Parsons, he's great. Pay him, and because down the road these other guys are going to get paid as well. But
well, and the other thing, if I could just add this, the other thing is when you wait and it stretches throughout the offseason, as we saw happen with Dallas last year, like the players admitted it was a distraction, right? Like when you go down to literally opening day for Dak Prescott, right? Hours before kickoff of the season. I mean, they admitted it was on their minds, and that's the last thing you want for a team that's considers themselves in the mix.
No, they're all in, and that's what they are, Judy. The Cowboys are all in. Great to visit with you again. Thank you very much.
Great to see you, Dan. Thanks.
That's Judy Battista, senior national columnist and co-host of The Insiders on NFL Network.